to RadioPanj. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ RadioPanj ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਪੰਜ ਦਰਿਆ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼, sound of five rivers, only on 1521 AM ਤੇ 1521 AM 99.6 FM and your local DAB DAB. Once again, it's the Rush Hour Show ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ host ਸਵੀ. So ਮੇਰੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਸ਼ਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ. So once again you're tuned in and ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਵਧੀਆ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈ ਹਾਂ. So hopefully ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ and ਪਸੰਦ ਵੀ ਆਵੇਗਾ because today ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ is the man behind Tru-Skool. So his real name is Sukh and he's an amazing music producer and a musician as well who runs Tru-Skool and बहुत ही ਵਧੀਆ albums ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਆ and given amazing music to amazing artists in our Punjabi industry. So it is 5:08 5 ਵਜ ਕੇ 8 ਮਿੰਟ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਆ ਪੂਰੇ 6 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ and ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ on 02476 68 15 21. That's 02476 68 15 21 and you can listen to us live online on www.radiopanj.org. So मैं ज़्यादा देर नहीं लेनी तो अपना इंटरव्यू हम शुरू करनी है. So we will welcome Sukh to the studio. So here we go. Hello.
Hello.
So Sat Shri Akal ji and welcome to RadioPanj, Sukh ji.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so it's amazing to have you. So, you know, the man behind Tru-Skool.
Well,
so,
my name is actually Tru-Skool, but people think it's like a school or something.
Yeah, they do get confused, don't they? But the actual name is Tru-Skool. So, first of all, we do welcome you. And first of all, the listeners were very excited. And we do really want to know a bit about, you know, a bit about your background. So we do know you're born and brought up here in UK.
Yeah, Derby, that's right.
Derby. It is Derby, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we just want to know a bit more about, you know, your background, like as in Punjab, like for example your background or Pind or anything.
So my family originally from Punjab. We're from a band called Maldowan, which is basically touching the Gurnam.
Okay.
So we're from Duabba basically.
Acha Duabba. Theek.
We're obviously we're from the band and we're not from the share. So
from the Pind.
Very old school. Family, very traditional family.
Traditional.
I think my dad came in 1961, but my baba came even before that. So, we were more like the early sort of families that came, and then so we've got a very big family.
Okay.
Like, I mean, my dad's brothers, sisters, and then all my Bibi's family live in Derby as well.
Oh, okay, wow.
So all her brothers, and all their kids and all their kids.
Generations.
So all in Derby. So we've got an absolutely huge family.
Wow.
Oh, so yes, Bibi's brothers and sisters live in Derby. Then all my dad's family, like my dad's has 5 brothers, 3 sisters, all the kids, everybody is just absolutely huge. So that had a lot to do with the dose of Punjabi that I was getting, you know, like very old school desi style, you know. But then my younger Tatya who were born here, so you know they were listening to like Motown, Michael Jackson, like you know a lot of black music in the house. So that influence from you know like Kuldeep Manik and all of that sort of Sundar Sundar, Mohammed Sadiq, Kadasman, all that old school stuff, mixed with the sort of Motown and Michael Jackson and Jackson Stevie Wonder, all these things that kind of gave me sort of a different vibe from sort of a lot of my friends at school. Really.
Okay, so Derby's been lucky for you then, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Very proud of Derby. Very proud to say that I'm from there.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, like that to go back to Punjab or India, or when's the last time you've probably been?
You know what? I've only been to Punjab 3 times in my whole life.
Oh wow. Acha.
The first time I ever went to Punjab, I'm not going to say how old I am, but the first time I ever went was like 2006.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, like the image of Punjab I had because of our family is actually more old school than what Punjab actually is nowadays.
Yeah, it's kafi badal gaya,
Yeah, it's like, so when I went there, I expected it to be really desified, but it wasn't like what I saw. I think in England and a lot of places, we've got a lot of sort of you know, it's a lot more concentrated when it comes to Punjabi
Yeah.
in England, you know, overseas, sometimes even more than there.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, I totally agree. So, Sukh, tell us a bit about, you know, how did you actually get into music, like study-wise, like pehla to sochya si, or was it sudden, like interest shuru to si, how did you get into it?
So my Chacha,
Okay.
Ranjit Singh, he's no longer with us now. So my surname is Ark, right?
Okay.
So my Saka Chacha, ਉਹ ਤਬਲਾ ਢੋਲ ਵਜਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ 70s ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ
Okay.
you know
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਸਾਜੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ 'ਚ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
you know
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਸੀ like basic level ਵਾਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
you know
ਹਾਂਜੀ
so we've had to work hard in England to get that level up, but then you've had like top ragis from Punjab who moved to not just to Derby, to England. So like Ajit Singh Ji Matlashi and Gurmeet Singh Verdi, and in Derby we had Gyani Indrajit, who's just a world class level classical Sangeet. My actual start is Preetam Singh from Birmingham as well, but it was from my chacha who he was learning tabla from Gyani Indrajit, who was our next door neighbour, so he was like family to us. So all our kind of bars, bar, everything, they were always there.
Okay.
So we had a lot of classical influence from Gyani Indrajit ji really.
Yeah.
And my chacha playing those instruments as well, tabla, dol.
Okay.
So from seeing that in the house with him, and then my other chacha listening to black music, and my dad being into, you know, Manik Shandar, you know, Muhammad Sadiq and everything, all of the desi theatre music that was out. And plus in Derby we had record shops, cassette shops, vinyls, we had vinyls in the house.
It kind of run in the family then, I guess.
Yeah. So because of that, being around that and seeing that, music was just always around me really. So, and plus like, you know, a lot of my, you know, my like Puani and like all them, they're so tiered. Like my Bibi, she was 14 when she got married, you know.
Oh my God, wow.
My Bibi was over 100 when she passed away.
Oh bless, yeah.
So she was like unpart in Punjabi, pure tiered Punjabi, Pendu wali Punjabi. So seeing that, it's an interesting cocktail really.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, it's good to see. I think when just see family dekhte, then obviously you end up picking that up at a young age. So I guess that's what happened. So talking about how did Tru-Skool start then? So like how did a career
start? It's a long start. It's a long one because I mean I'm talking about from the early ages.
Yeah.
From sort of, I think, you know, when you're born and bred here, you know, school jaake ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਸਿੱਖਦੇ ਆ ਘਰ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਠੇਠ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ. So like you start asking questions, you know, ਮੈਂ ਕੀ ਆ, you know, am I Punjabi, am I Gora, am I ki, and you know, but then you start realizing you're actually both. You know, and then I think so I had a really close link to my culture. I was always interested in that, and obviously even when it comes to Dharam, being at the Gurdwara a lot, living near the Gurdwara actually, our house was, you know, all of these things it brought us was closer to the culture. And you know, when I was at school, that interest in music grew, and I started playing the drums, English drums. Okay. Before I even learnt the tabla dol from my chacha. Yeah. I learned the English drums first, and then I started doing GCSE music as well at school. Yeah. And I started rapping. I used to rap. Okay. And one of my friends, he moved from America to Derby, and I don't know how that happened. Okay. And he was very much like, have you ever seen Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith? Okay. That character, my friend Carlton, was actually like Will Smith in real life. Okay. He was like that character, you know, like really silly. No way. He was like that in real life. So he went to my school, and he was a hip hop head, and I was already into. I liked the beats, the drum beats and stuff when I used to hear to rap music. Yeah. And we had Sky TV, and in those days not a lot of people had it. He saw the satellite dish on our house when we were on the school bus one time when we were coming back from somewhere, and he's like, "Oh, you've got a satellite dish. Can I come round and watch Yo MTV Raps?" Okay. Which is a program. It's just like a legendary rap program. Yeah. You know, people that saw that were very lucky to see that. So because of him coming around, and he used to record it on the VHS recorder. Yeah. And when I was watching those raps, this is real pure underground hip hop. Seeing that just got me into producing rap beats, playing the drums, recording them on analog equipment, not digital, not computers, on actual analog gear, different, proper analog equipment. So you had to play everything live and learning how to play keys. And then I used to rap as well. And so we had a rap group. But then I was into Punjabi music at the same time. So it was always going to come together. So when I started learning how to play the tabla, dholki, and I started playing the keyboards and play the drums, I started putting like the rap beats together with the Punjabi sort of beats. And then later on, I mean, I was a big fan of all the UK bands, Safri Boys, Ishara Group, and all the, Sukhshinder Shinda, when he was still a percussionist. Before he was even producing, when he was a musician, I was a fan of him. I used to read all the tape, Satrang, Deepak songs. I used to listen to all the UK guys, and then, bands like John. Listening to that, but doing the rap thing, I was in like two different worlds. I was into rap and I was into Punjabi Bhangra music, and then we born and raised, brought up on Punjabi folk as well. So, although I was keeping everything separate, but then when I remember hearing Death Jam, I don't know if you know who that is, Death Jam, and then their debut release, that was Shira Mangu Gomade for Deepak Sardar by Melinda Safri. I noticed they were sampling hip hop in there, and then shortly after their release, Punjab BMC released his debut release. He's from Coventry, by the way. And I noticed some hip hop influences, and it was like, for me to hear that, I was like, these guys are using elements that I'm already into. So it was really good for a young person, for me, to hear that. I think the difference with me was, though, when I was eventually going to start producing, I was always going to produce the hip hop elements and produce the Punjabi elements and put them together rather than sampling.
Rather than separating,
Yeah, because when you're sampling, that's basically you take a beat that's already made without permission, and then you just put a Punjabi beat on top. That's how the early hip hop influences entered the Punjabi scene in the 90s. Where I was like, I wouldn't mind sampling, but I'd rather like create the hip hop because I was doing that anyway with the rap group that I was in. And the rap group that I was in, because my friend was American. There was no such thing as UK hip hop. It was only American, so I was always into that American sound. And so I used to put on an American accent when I used to rap. So I've been raised on, for me, hip hop with the American delivery is what I'm into, so there's a lot of influence from that.
That's amazing. And another question I really do want to ask is the name Tru-Skool. How did that come up?
That's...
I mean, I think it's a catchy name, to be honest.
It's quite an interesting question. I mean, we're kind of like, I'll try and make it as quick as I can. So with me, in hip hop, they used to have a saying called, if something's old, they'd call it old school. And then something that's current today, they'd call it new school. So anything that's a few years older, they're there, that's old school. Or anything over like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, call it old school. And but there was this special period in hip hop in the 90s. So in the 90s, they were calling the 80s music old school, right? But when the 2000s came, the 2000s people would then call the 90s music old school. But the 90s people were like, no, the 90s music is not old school and it's not new school, that's eternal. So then, with Punjabi music, the music that was made in the 70s and 80s in the UK, and then the current music that was out in the 2000s, for me, I always thought the 90s was like the best era. And then in Punjab, the current music that was out at that time was really good. And then the music that started with the early recordings of like Jamala Jatt and Surinder Kaur. But when Kuldeep Manik and Janjit Ahuja, that period started. That's what I'm into. So my music is a fusion of folk at that period, the Janjit Ahuja Manik period, and then 90s sort of Bhangra, and then the 90s hip hop. So for me, I'd say I'm not old school, I'm not true school, I'm not old school, I'm not new school, I'm true school. Where it's like, for me, it's evergreen. So I'm trying to say that music is like golden. It's like, it's like the best period.
Okay.
So my music represents that period. So that's why I'm saying I'm not old or new. It's just true. It's always going to be there.
Oh wow.
And I've got a habit of sort of being a bit brutally honest as well. So maybe that
I
word true kind
I
of
think
fits.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Maybe not always.
No, not always, but I think so.
Can get you in trouble sometimes.
Yeah, I know it can sometimes, but it's okay. It's good, I guess. So yeah, Galla chal rahi hai with Tru-Skool Sukh de naal. So it's time for a short break. It's 5:23. So मैं ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ ਛੋਟੀ ਜਿਹੀ break ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ. Welcome back to Radio Panj. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ Radio Panj ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਪੰਜ ਦਰਿਆ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼, Sound of Five Rivers, only on 1501 AM ਤੇ 1521 AM 99.6 FM. And once again ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ host Savi and ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ The Rush Hour Show and ਗੱਲਾਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਆ Tru-Skool and Sukh de naal. So here we go. We'll continue the interview. So welcome back, Sukh.
Thanks.
Yeah. So moving on, so we kind of got to know how your interest came and how it all started. So now I want to kind of move in like how your career kind of started. So like in the early days, I think around 2004, The Specialist came out and Mandeep Singh, Ovi Coventry to ya, hai na?
That's right.
So ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ experience ਦੱਸੋ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਸੀ?
So Specialist, he's actually the same age as me.
Okay.
He released an album, a solo album first in '97.
Okay.
When he was still, well, I don't want to give out age.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I heard that album.
Yeah.
And I really liked it.
Okay.
And, generally not knowing anything about who The Specialist is, I thought he was some like older guy because the music, it was, there was some really like solid production in there, and I thought this must be from somebody experienced.
Yeah.
And so I actually bought that cassette and I was listening to it a lot, and I remember that came out in the same week as Surinder Shinda's Ot Sardaran Day album by Skills Inc. and Punjab BMC's Mirza Part 2.
Okay.
So in that week we had some solid releases come out, and I was like, this one really sort of came out of the blue.
Yeah.
And anyway, a year later, in '98, I remember, so a friend of mine called Haj, he's got an artist name as Excess Bass.
Yeah.
Me and Haj linked up and we were doing work together, and I one day just mentioned it to him. I go, oh, there's like really good producer called The Specialist. I started talking about The Specialist, like, he's probably one to watch out for.
Okay.
And Haj was like, are you joking? I'm like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
He was like, he's my friend. He's part of our DJ crew.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. And then he told me, he goes, he's your age.
Oh.
And I was like, so that kind of shocked me that he was that young at the time. And he goes, I'll introduce you. So we went down Coventry. He went to see a couple of people. I've got a lot of friends in Coventry, so we went to Specialist's house, and that was the first time we met.
Okay.
We got on immediately because we found out from that first meeting that we were both the same age.
Yeah.
We both played the drums.
Okay.
At the same time.
Right.
Both at school, playing the drums.
Space and everything.
And listening to hip hop. We were into the same hip hop.
Yeah.
Playing those same kind of beats of those hip hop tracks we were listening to. We were into the same kind of bhangra, same folk.
A lot of things matched then.
A lot of things matched.
Wow.
Same age, and we both played the drums. So the beats that we used to play on the drums were not normal.
Okay.
Bhangra bands never played them kind of beats.
Yeah.
These were like real rap rhythms,
Yeah.
So if Bhangra track had any rhythms like that in the tracks, they would sample it.
Okay.
Where we could actually play those beats.
Yeah.
So he was the first person I'd ever met that could play those sort of beats, and I think so he was kind of shocked when he met me as well.
Okay.
He's like, we got a lot in common, so we became friends instantly from there.
Yeah.
And then in 2000 he featured on an album called Too Lethal Desi with Bali Rai. There was 2 albums, but then we were meeting up a lot and playing each other beats.
Yeah.
We used to almost like be in competition with each other actually. We used to try and outdo each other.
It's good to have a bit of competition.
Yeah. It was like, it wasn't a secret. We were like, so if one of us made, so we'd put cassettes on in the car, we'd meet up in the car park, or we'd come to my house, or I'd go to his house, so he'd come to Derby, like go to Coventry, or we'd meet in Leicester halfway, Leicester Forest East, that service station. We used to meet there, and we used to put the beats on, and we'd be there nodding our heads, and then if I'd outdo Manny, he'd be like, damn, you beat me. So then he'd come back hard next week, and then I'd know like he's gonna try and outdo me, so I'd be like, I gotta come in hard again. So that really sharpened our skills up a lot.
It's good, keeps you going.
But then eventually they set up, him and his brother-in-law Bali Rai, who was an artist, set up a label called Easy Life Records, and so the Specialist was doing his own solo album at the time, and I was making a solo album, but it was going to be for Punjabi MC. He started a label too. But the Specialist was like, before you do the Punjabi MC one, could you do one for us first? And so I asked PMC, I go, look, is it alright if I do one for these guys first? So I started doing that album. But my best friend passed away at the time. I don't want to go too much into that. I mean, he actually was my best friend that I was seeing regular, like all day, every day, spending hours with him, for many years, So I think at that time I was just like, to Manny Specialist, I was like, I can't really be bothered to do this album. I go, how about the songs I've done for my album and the ones you're working on, why don't we just put them together and just become a duo, the Specialist and Tru-Skool. So that's where it kicked off then. And then we put the songs together, and then we started finishing them off and working on them together. We made the artwork. I thought of the title, Word Is Born, and then from there, that was it. Then it became a permanent thing until Specialist eventually went to leave music. But until he left, we became a permanent thing, and that was it. And then, so I mean, our first album actually changed the game. It permanently changed music production. The music scene at that time was in a different direction, and we just came with that hard hip hop and folk and Bangla sound, and we switched everything around, and so many young producers were inspired and influenced by that album, and they started trying to recreate that music. We didn't like that at first, to be honest. We were actually threatening people. We were phoning people up. So but as you got older, you mature and you learn, you can't stop phoning people up, and, but that album did sort of change the game. Oh,
that's really good. It's amazing. And then moving on to the second one, which is quite big as well, with Diljit Dosanjh, Back to Basics.
Well, that wasn't the second album. The second album me and Specialist did was that represent that Daru Bike on there and other songs, but Diljit came a lot later. So if you want to talk about it.
No, that's okay. So Back to Basics, like amazing songs like Strawberry and many more. So how was that experience with you? Obviously working with Diljit Dosanjh that time, and I know you've worked again for Geordie, which is really good as well, but we'll come back to that later on. So how was Back to Basics with Diljit Dosanjh at that time?
Well, because I'd had numerous releases before then, Diljit had heard one of these songs I'd made for somebody called Gurpage Barar called Jack Gadernage, and he'd seen the video on YouTube, and he was a fan of JK as well. Him and Honey Singh were listening to JK, and the album I did with JK, Gabru Punjab, and they really liked that album, and then he liked that single I did. So Diljit I think I was on his radar from there. Then he contacted me through Chaos Productions. So Chaos Productions' best friend, Harmy, lived on my street. And Harmy is married to Diljit's sister.
Oh wow.
Mad. So
no way.
Yeah, craziness.
What a coincidence.
So I think Diljit kind of must have worked it out and said, can you get in contact with Tru-Skool? And he got my phone number, and then he was like, I really like the JK stuff, and we listened to it, and then I really like I really like your music. And then so eventually I wasn't keen on the idea first, but then after a few phone calls, and speaking, and we connected, then I was like, okay, let's go for the album. And then he came over and stayed at my house for a month. And
that's nice.
So we recorded the vocals, everything. We made all the compositions, and we started the album then. And then he came back again when I was near the finished end of it. And we became good friends. And that album, when it came out, it's just
it's amazing.
Speaks for itself.
No, it does, definitely.
Without sounding arrogant.
No. It obviously the work tells everything, so there's no need. So definitely.
Well, that album actually changed Diljit's trajectory, and it changed the way he started singing, because it really sort of like I knew what his potential was because I'm a vocal teacher as well.
Yeah.
So I knew exactly what he could do and where his limitations would be. So I knew how to get the maximum result out of him.
Yeah.
So I think that's when Diljit realised that he's capable of a lot vocally. So his vocals changed after that album.
Definitely. I think I want to actually know, because obviously you deal with music more. I think music does play a big role, doesn't it, in songs? Like Galla lyrics ni naal.
Oh, no,
what do you think? What do you personally, your
I'm a
opinion
music
on
producer,
this?
so obviously I'm gonna I can tell you for a fact, you just imagine a singer just singing on stage.
Yeah.
You're not gonna dance to that, are you?
Yeah.
Where's the music?
Yeah.
Where's the beat?
That's it.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas music, on the other hand, you can have instrumental music.
Yeah.
Because music, centuries ago, by composers and Beethoven or what, there was no singing on music.
No.
So the first form of music was actually instrumental.
Instruments, yeah.
And then the singing came afterwards. So music is, the word music comes from the instruments first, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Then the singing came.
That's it.
Yeah.
So what has been your favourite instrument?
When I started playing the drums and I learned the dol from my tata, dol. I used to love the dol because not just because of my tata, but I was a huge fan of Sukhinder Shinda.
Okay.
In the early 90s, when he was playing on so many recordings, before he started doing his own production, I was just fascinated by, because I was already into dol, so the way he played. So I just used to love percussion.
Okay.
That tabla and dol, I used to love it.
Yeah.
When I started playing the harmonium, I think that became my favourite. But as you get older, I don't know, then I think, you know what, to me it's all just the same, it's all one.
Yeah.
It's all one. But I do spend a lot of time playing the harmonium because when I'm at home, you don't get a lot of time to practice. I play 8-9 instruments.
Yeah.
My wife gets mad at me for the drum kits upstairs in the house. She's like, get it out the room. So we're going to find a place where to put that. So there's a lot of instruments. So what I do is when I'm at home, if I'm sitting down on the sofa and got TV on, I get a small keyboard and I put the volume really low.
Okay.
Even when I'm just speaking to someone, I'll just be there playing.
Yeah.
So it's anytime I sit down, my brain's always ticking away.
Yeah.
I'm always just playing.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So then, how did the idea of teaching come in? Like, you want more young generation to come in. So I kind of love the idea, because otherwise, juri nahi si karna, hai na? But still you thought, I want to give the knowledge and to other young generation. How did the idea come in?
I taught JK how to sing.
Okay.
Because he lived around the corner from my house, so I'd known him since he was young.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get into music at that time, but he just was not at that level at all.
Okay.
And I decided to try and see if I could teach him, putting together the knowledge I had of with sar and tal, and I thought maybe if I put this together, maybe I could. And then because I did music at school, and I took piano lessons as well, and then I was doing Indian classical with my teacher. I thought maybe I can get all these elements together and form my own method.
Yeah.
So I started teaching him, and I was figuring out ways that are effective to teach, and in the end it worked. So after teaching him for many years, and then he did so well when he first came out. So and then that's where I was encouraged, to maybe I can
run a school and start teaching.
So I started teaching, and I've got.
That's really good.
I teach on a Saturday. He's been teaching for over 10 years now.
Oh wow!
So a lot of young people from all over England come to my class.
Does it make you happy? I bet it does probably.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think there's been so many students that have, some of them are quite well known. I don't want to say their names, but some of them are quite well known. JK being one of them. He was my first one. But yeah.
That's really good. It's amazing. And then all the studio and everything is running like Derby, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Everything.
So the studio is at my home actually. So all the instruments are recorded there, all the vocals are recorded there. So all the singers, whoever it's been, have always come to my house.
Oh, nice.
Like with Nimad Karan, Jodi, all that, Diljit, Garden, the Jazzy B track I did, Diljit Malwa. Yeah. They've all just come.
That's nice, yeah. So moving on to the next one. Back in 2021, Karan Aujla's album, BTF you. So how was, because that was like a very big breakthrough as well on the Billboard and everything. So all the experience working with Gurnam, how did that all come together?
Again, Gordon, he messaged me on Instagram, and the thing is now when you're an artist, your Instagram is just always just packed, like you miss a lot of messages. And because a lot of messages go into the requests folder, and that's just full of junk. And then every now and then I check it.
Okay.
Yeah. So every now and then I check it. So I checked it and I saw this blue tick, and I was like, God, I don't know, what's he messaging me for? Because I was actually speaking to Savita Arya at the time.
Oh, okay.
We were going to do an album together, me and Savita Arya.
Oh, wow, okay.
So when he messaged me, I was a bit surprised.
Yeah.
And then I was like, should I open it or not? I opened the message. And then I didn't know what to say. He was like, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't reply back properly. I just said, Hanji Tika, that was it. And I think from there he kind of thought, oh, he's not interested. But then I went back and said, horse around.
Yeah.
Then he sent a voice note and said, I'm a big fan of you. I love your past albums, and I'm a big fan. I'd love it if we could do something together.
Oh.
So I was just like, all right, let's speak. So we did a video call, and I got good vibes off him, and he wanted to do a song, and I was like, look, I don't really like doing singles. I'm an album kind of guy.
Okay.
I don't like doing singles because I feel like with an album you can express so much more.
And
there's so much
variety
that you can put forward. So I was like, why don't we try doing an album? And he didn't expect me to say that. To be honest, I didn't expect to say that either.
Okay.
We were speaking, the conversation kind of just went that way naturally.
Yeah.
And he was like, if we could do an album, that would be amazing, because he didn't think that was going to be a possibility. But when I just, out of the blue, I just said it, and he's like, and that was it. And then it all started from there.
Oh, wow.
And then, got back and forth. I was showing him some beats, he was showing me lyrics and stuff, and then we made a date. So that was when COVID was happening. So he came to my house in September 2020 when COVID was
hit, kind of. Yeah, it is so often, yeah.
That locked, people were still in lockdown and stuff, and so it was really risky. But he risked it and came.
He done it.
Yeah.
Turned out good though, in the end.
Yeah.
So, what is kind of like your music taste then? Do you prefer like slow or more hip hop or more like, what's your kind of genre? Like, what do you prefer? Or is it kind of mixed?
Oh, definitely mixed. So, I listen to a lot of different types of music.
Yeah.
So with Punjabi music, there's obviously folk, but then UK Bhangra as well. But then I was a big fan of the era of, the Punjab Bhangra type, like Sarjeet Binder, Kia Manmohan Varis, Balkar Sidhu, that type of, that Bhangra, that era.
Yeah.
So I was highly into that as well.
Oh, okay, that's really good.
And then with classical as well, because from learning from my own teacher, so I'm into it. Classical as well. I did Kirtan for many years as well. I was learning. I still do learn Rag Kirtan as well, classical.
Okay.
So there'll be a lot of that sort of influence, and with hip hop, but there was a lot of influence from soul music in the early days that my Jatje were listening to, and break dance music and all that. So listening to that sort of stuff, hip hop and soul, R&B and Motown. So there's like a wide variety there. Okay,
that's amazing. So Gala chal rahi hai with Tru-Skool Sukh de naal. It is 5:44. So 15 minutes ho, and then it's time for a short break. So I'll catch you after the break. Welcome back to RadioPanj. Tusi sun rahe ho RadioPanj, yani ki Panj Darya di Awaaj, Sound of Five Rivers, only on 1501 AM te 1521 AM 99.6 FM and your local DAB DAB. So once again you're joined to the Rush Hour show. The main thodi apni ho Savi and Galla chal rahi hai Tru-Skool Sukh de naal. So we will continue the conversation. Hello again. So moving on now. So obviously we got to know a bit about like the albums that you've worked with, and recently, which is quite recent, was Geordie. You gave music to that. It was a movie obviously, but for the songs. Diljit Dosanjh and Nimrat Khaira. So obviously that was kind of based on like Chumkila and the history and everything. So ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਦੱਸੋ, ਉਹਦਾ like experience ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਸੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ? How did it?
That's quite a big question, because the music for that film,
Yeah.
that album soundtrack was based on Punjabi folk desi music.
That's it.
Late 70s to the mid 80s.
Yeah.
So it's like 70s, 80s sound.
Mm.
So that sound has went away from then.
Kind of
So
lost.
once that sound was gone, it never came back.
Yeah.
Because the producers like Janji the Hujja at that time, the musicians that he was working with, a lot of those have passed away.
Yeah.
So that style of playing the instruments that way, the musicians don't play like that anymore.
Yeah.
The way they played the tabla, the way the harmonium player was playing was the mandolin playing, the flute playing. So the dumbi playing is all very. But that's something I've studied for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
So it's something that I played a lot of those instruments myself, and I compose all my music. So my job was to compose music that sounds like it was made in that era.
Yeah.
So it was Daljit that said to the film, he goes, I'm only going to be in this film if you get Tru-Skool
Oh wow.
to do
The music.
that music, because he knew, because I'd already made songs like Drak and Ranja on
Acha.
Back to Basics and
Theek.
Ashok Prince's album Ek Teri Yaad, these songs. So Ot Jatta De Koi Aan Ke Mai Da Laal Takkare, those he already knew that.
Yeah.
In his view, he was like, he's the only person who can make that kind of music.
Mm.
And I actually talked to Janji the Hujja as well and asked questions about a lot of that music. And you know, a lot of those musicians have passed away. So Daljit was like, if you get him to do the music, then I'm going to do the film.
Yeah.
And then Nimrat Kera, it was actually me that was suggesting that they should use Nimrat.
Oh, okay.
Because I've actually done Nimrat Kera's album, which probably will be out later this year.
Okay.
So I'd already done that album a while ago,
Right.
which is obviously not out yet. And now
Yeah.
I was suggesting, why don't you get her for the film and get her on the songs?
Yeah.
You know, and so that all worked out. And then making that music, it was all like when for example, one of the songs, we're going to do a song now, so when I'd have to memorize all the tabla from start to end and play it live.
Right.
As if it's
Play it live.
Like press record, go.
Oh, okay.
And I'd play it all live and so you'd have to be so tight and clear.
Yeah.
And the door look that way. So that's, you know, everything was live. We tried to behave as if we're back in those times.
Yeah.
And I remember the weather was boiling hot.
Oh my God.
One of that summer, I was recording with my shorts on, you know, and I was sweating.
Oh my God.
On some of those songs. So it was actually really like being in Punjab before they had AC in those studios.
Oh my God.
It was really like being in Punjab. You know, I was sweating playing that stuff, and I've got such a crazy memory, so I was able just to memorize the whole track. I knew it, where every thought out, every roll was, where every stop was, where every beat change was.
Yeah.
But you'd have to be tight as well. So, you know, it was a crazy experience. And then with Daljit, when he came over, those vocals that he recorded, I composed those melodies. So the writer would send the song with it, but which I'd change the melody basically.
Okay.
Daljit would learn them and then he'd go in and sing them. And this is the craziest thing, that when Daljit came back last year to redo the vocals, because he did the guide vocals first, we found that he didn't need to sing them again, and we kept the guide vocals.
Okay.
So nearly every single vocal on Geordie is a guide vocal.
Wow.
Just a dummy vocal.
No way. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how long does it take a lot of time now for the music to put together, or does it depend on
It takes me a long time.
Does it?
Because I don't use a lot of samples and things like that. You know, when I do use samples, even then the way that's put together is quite complex.
Yeah.
So the way I work is not really the same as a lot of these younger producers.
Yeah.
So it does take a lot, because when you're recording instruments and stuff, and the way they're processed and edited, I spend a lot of time to get them sounding in that way.
Yeah. Okay. And then another question I want to ask is, like, have you ever thought in the future whether there's any artists you would like to collab with, or you haven't really?
I mean, the newer artists that are coming through, I mean, for a long time, like I said, I was always into the 90s and Balavinder Safri and Dippa Dosanjh and you know, Jazzy B when he first came from Canada, like and After Maniac and Meshi Shara. I was into all of that.
Yeah.
So when then Sarjeet Bindrakia, the India artists. So when the new artists were coming in, I wasn't really into them, to be honest. So that's why when a lot of artists would contact me for music, I was never really into their voices. So the thing is, but now I'm seeing that there's new artists, like there's a lad called Mani Longia.
Okay.
I think he's really good, and I think there's a guy called Deep Bajwa from Punjab. I think they're good. But some of the students I'm teaching, wanted to bring them into the game. Gurnam, for example, I was like, I was liking what he was doing, so we did the album. Obviously, Diljit. So there is. But in terms of anybody new, I can't really think of.
No, that's good. And then another question I want to ask is, like, over the years, obviously, because you've worked so hard, what's kind of like, what have you learnt over the years? If you were to give advice to like a young generation coming into this field, what have you learnt really over the years?
I mean, that's a long question, doesn't it? A lot of things. But some obvious things I would say is actually learn the craft properly instead of trying to fake it and make it look like more than what you actually know.
Okay.
And then and be respectful as well, because that's it. Just try and keep your head down and try and just be as humble as possible, because we all make mistakes. We can all do something wrong, but try your efforts just to try and be honest as you can, and just have as much integrity as possible. I'd say that's really important, and just work hard at learning your craft. Don't fake it and don't cheat. Really.
Okay, no, thank you so much. So we are actually coming towards the end, so I do want to really appreciate, thank you for taking the time out for coming to RadioPanj. And I've learnt many things, and I think even an hour is short. We could probably talk that much. But is there any other message you would like to give to our RadioPanj listeners?
Well, I was really happy to come on. It's been a community station, so keep supporting the station, keep listening. Really, that's the main thing I'd say to them.
Thank you so much, Sukh. Much appreciated. So thank you so much. So that was Tru-Skool. Hopefully thanu interview vadiya lagi honi, and it is 5:56, a couple of more minutes left, so I will be signing off soon, and फिर मैं थोड़ा मिलूंगी once again अगले हफ्ते Friday 5 to 6 ਏਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ RadioPanj ਨੂੰ support ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹੋ and ਪਿਆਰ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੋ. So last couple of minutes I'll be continuing playing Here and There by Gurnam, and here it goes.